because she knew that no matter what she sacrificed, she could not sacrifice Thompson's villa. She finally has the opportunity to live in, and would not want to move out even if she was killed. As long as she can keep Thompson's first grade, even if Haraya wants to give birth to this child, she can bear it. As for her son, she can't bear it anymore. She can't manage so much anymore. So the old Mrs. Wilson immediately made a decision for Noah and blurted out, "Don't worry, Mr. Regnar, he will never have any opinions. In this family, this old woman has the final say." Regnar was satisfied and said coldly, "If this is the case, then I will give you another chance, but you must remember what I said and dare to have any disobedience. I will not only let your family get out, but also all your family will be sent to the black coal mine." After all, Regnar hung up the phone. At this time, Noah hurried forward and asked, "Mom, what did Mr. Regnar say?" Old Mrs. Wilson glanced at Haraya with a vicious look and said to Noah, "As Mr. Regnar said, you are never allowed to divorce Haraya, and we are not allowed to do anything unkind to her otherwise. He'll let us get out of Thompson and send us to the black coal kiln." Noah's eyes were dark, and he fainted with a puff. Noah had the desire to die at this moment. He never expected that Regnar would stand up for Haraya. This made him very uncomfortable. Noah also lived proudly for half his life, and had never tried to feel like being cuckolded. As a result, he didn't expect that not only was the green hat worn, but the wife even came back pregnant with wild plants. More importantly, he couldn't even divorce her. Isn't this trying to stick the green hat on head? At this moment, he hated Haraya crazy, but when he thought of Regnar's words, he immediately persuaded himself again. He also knew that he couldn't disobey Regnar's meaning. Otherwise, not only would he be unlucky, but the entire Wilson family would be unlucky. The only life-saving straw for the current Wilson family is that if they offend Regnar, everyone will instantly fall from living in the Thompson villa to the street without food and clothing. In order to survive, for the Thompson First Class, for the Wilson Group, he can only bear the pain of wearing this green hat. Moreover, he will continue to live with Haraya. This feeling makes him collapse. But in order to survive, he can only compromise. So he gritted his teeth and said to Haraya, "I don't need to divorce you, but the child in your stomach must be killed." The old Mrs. Wilson nodded and said coldly, "Yes, our Wilson family doesn't keep any evil seeds. You have to abort." Haraya was already satisfied with the concessions made by the Wilson family, and she was the one who didn't want to give birth to a child last. After all, it was a dirty, ugly, middle-aged old rag that made her pregnant with this child. Not only did he let her be pregnant with this child, he also infected her with a lot of venereal diseases. Whenever thinking of this, Haraya would like to kill that supervisor. Therefore, Haraya agreed. "Don't worry, I have made an appointment to remove the baby on Monday, and I will definitely not give birth to this child." Old Mrs. Wilson said coldly, "This is the best." Haraya sighed at this time and said with emotion, "In fact, you should really understand me. I have tasted all the sufferings of the world in the black coal kiln. It is you who supported me to survive, because you are mine. Family." What Haraya said was a true love confession, but Noah felt very sick when he listened. He said in a cold voice, "Okay, don't sell it if you get a bargain. If it wasn't for Mr. Regnar to protect you, I would have kicked you out." Seeing Noah's extremely angry look, Haraya also put away the sigh just now and said coldly, "Noah, I will give you a chance to live a good life. If you have to ask yourself to be boring, then you will be accompanied by Haraya. In the end." Noah was furious and was about to scold his mother. The old Mrs. Wilson shouted sharply, "Okay, stop talking." Only then did Noah shut his mouth. Old Mrs. Wilson said coldly, "You all stop one by one. Why are you making a noise here? Mr. Regnar has already spoken, and you are still quarreling. Are you happy to destroy the Wilson family?" For Mrs. Wilson, if anything affects her staying at the Thompson villa, and her revival of the Wilson Group, no matter how important things are, she must stand aside. Noah and Haraya both had embarrassed expressions, but Haraya had a slightly more successful expression. She knew that the Lady Wilson had compromised. Old Mrs. Wilson said with a black face, "Okay, my family has experienced everything, and many things are naturally open to them.